strength is gone. You're the one who calls me home. You're the light, you are the fight that's in my soul. Let me hear you. Oh, your resurrection power burns like fire in my heart. When waters rise, I lift my eyes unto your throne. We are more than conquerors through Christ. You have overcome this world, this life. We will not bow to sin or to shame. We are defying in your name. You are the fire that cannot be tamed. You are the power in our veins. Our Lord, our God, our conqueror. Yes! I will sing into the night. I will sing into the night. Christ is risen and on high. Greater is he who's living in me than in the world. No surrender, no retreat. We are free and we're redeemed. We will declare over despair, you are the hope. And we are more than conquerors through Christ. You have overcome this world, this life. We will not bow to sin or to shame. We are defying in your name. You are the fire that cannot be tamed. You are the power in our veins. Our Lord, our God, our conqueror. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Every chain is breakable. With you, we are victorious. I can hear you better, church. Come on. You are stronger than our hearts. You are greater than the dark. With you, we are victorious. Sing it again. Nothing is impossible. Every chain is breakable. With you, we are victorious. You are stronger than our hearts. You are greater than the dark. With you, we are victorious. One more time. Nothing is impossible. Every chain is breakable. With you, we are victorious. You are stronger than our hearts. You are greater than the dark. With you, we are victorious. We are more. We are more than conquerors through Christ. You have overcome this world, this life. We will not bow to sin or to shame. We are defying in your name. You are the fire that cannot be tamed. You are the power in our veins. Our Lord, our God, our conquerors. Give a shout of praise this morning, church.
Hi, good morning, Forward Point. How's everyone doing? Hi, good morning. My name is Sonia. I'm here on purpose at Forward Point, and I am joined by Miss Casey. As you all know, we are a community of faith, hope, and love, helping people find their because we believe you were born on and we want to be part of that story any way we can. All right, Miss Casey, what do we got to do?
Oh, there's so many things. Sonia, I gotta tell you, I am so tired of I'm exhausted. We had so much stuff going on this past week.
We did.
I mean, like I said, it was just exhausting. Anybody here that came to the movie? Wasn't that a great experience, Sonia?
It was. Before we get into all the announcements, I know I have some rowdy kids that might want to get up to Kidsman. So Miss Augie is in the back, Mr. Glenn and Cherry and Kiwi, if you want to go join them. And before we jump into our announcements, who do we want to welcome?
We do want to welcome all the new people that are here.
Yes.
We're glad you're here, and we want you to come back. If you would text that number, 315-883-2213. Just text welcome to that number. We'd like to send you something in the mail, so please do that.
Yes. If you're new here, thank you for joining us. Please connect with all of our platforms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know. And download our Church Center app, and that's how you can find out about all the upcoming events. And let's jump into what's happened. Oh, my goodness. What was yesterday?
Oh my
One
God,
of my
yesterday,
favorite days of the month.
men's and women's breakfast, I'm
Yeah.
still full.
I know.
Not only full from food, but it was a really great spiritual filling
It
yesterday.
was. The
Unreal.
breakfasts allow you to get deeper. I don't know what the men were doing, but at the women, we shed some tears. We had great fellowship. It was just a really great bonding experience. So if you were there, give a shout out to that. Yay! Look at all the guys eating good food.
I think we had better. We had better.
Yeah, we had better always, but that's okay. Oh, and the movie night, I think I still have some PTSD about that from all the people that were here. So if you're here, give a shout. We had the balcony full. We had here full. We had chairs that had to be brought in. What was your
Most
experience
importantly, we had Mario and Princess Peach here.
I know.
And I can tell you the kids were so excited to meet them. The energy was just in the air. It was wonderful.
Yes,
We
we
do want to
had-
do more of that kind of stuff
Yeah.
too. So keep an eye on that Church Center app.
Yes, for me, it was just, I felt everybody's energy and just running around here, making sure everything was okay. We had a line out the door for a good hour and a half. It was insane. We had people at the door at 4:45, just crazy. And to be able to do that for the community was amazing. And then, what do we need to get in by next week?
So next week, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the baby bottles that are out there. They're for New Hope. Just fill them with change and bring them back. We're running that from Mother's Day to Father's Day. Guys, Father's Day is next week. Right. Isn't that coming up fast? I think this year is just flying by already. So please have them in next Sunday so we can get them to New Hope on time.
If you don't have a baby bottle and you just want to donate some stuff, bring it in. If you don't already know, New Hope is a pregnancy crisis center in the area, right down in the Eastwood Plaza. It helps new moms that aren't expecting or get sonograms up to 12 weeks, helps with stuff after birth, and is just a great community resource. So if you haven't checked it out or want more information, check that out and bring those back next Sunday so we can turn them all in. All right, and before we begin our service, we have Miss Lois and
Mr. Joe.
Mr. Joe, and they have some announcements about the prayer team if you guys would like to come up.
Come on up, guys.
Woo!
Even a Jets fan, yep.
Don't you forget it either there, Cliff. Good morning, everybody. How are my friends this morning? Good? Okay. So just wanted to give you a little heads up about the prayer team. We've got 5 wonderful people praying for others. We are always available before service and after service. We're going to be back over in that corner right back there for you. Don't hesitate to come visit. Anything spiritual, emotional, physical, we are here for you, and we just want you to know about that. We're looking to expand. We would like more warriors on the team, and if that's something that is on your heart, we are going to be meeting after service back in that corner.
We're looking to expand prayer itself. Looking to see possibly praying for people via phone calls or text messages or even at their seats, if you feel comfortable doing so. So we're going to be meeting back there after service with any ideas or if you're interested in joining the team. We're also developing these wonderful little prayer cards that we're going to put on the tables in the back. So we're going to be able to utilize these. Just have your name, phone or email, and how we can pray for you and whether or not you want us to get back to you about that. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Lois.
In case you were wondering why he had to help me up the stairs, last time I came up here, I tripped. So I said, we don't want to redo. So we really appreciate the fact that many of you all believe as we do that prayer is very important. And that just in case you think maybe you're not called to that, all you need to do is look in the Word. It tells us very clearly that that's what we're supposed to be doing. From Jeremiah it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. When you come, then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you." God is waiting to listen to each one of us, not just the ones on the prayer team, but every one of us. He wants a relationship with every one of us. In Romans, it tells us to be joyful in hope and patient in affliction and faithful in prayer. When you're faithful in prayer, you don't just wait for a Sunday morning, and you don't just wait for a holiday or a birthday or a celebration. Every day we want to celebrate our Lord and what he can do for us. And for you who don't know, we have a Wednesday night life group that meets at the Midler House. This Wednesday night will be our last one before the break in the summer. We're still going to get together and have our little love times and our little prayer times and our little joy times, but we're not going to have regular meetings. But the last one, we chose it to be a prayer vigil. And what we're doing is we're requesting for all of you who are interested to help us out with that prayer vigil. It starts at Wednesday night. I will be there by 6, and it goes to 8:30. If you want to come to pray, if you have things you want prayed for, we need everyone to be a part that can be and is willing to be. So this is at the Midler House. You come in the back entrance with the ramp, because we probably won't hear you if you come to the front door. And it's just a case of where we all are called to pray, and we all need to pray. And so our group is asking that you would help us. Be there and pray. Depends on how many are there. We may pray as one group. If we have a large group, we'll pray in groups of 3 or 4. And it also depends on how many requests we have. So even if you can't be there, I will be out in the hallway afterwards, and if you want to sign up to come so we have some kind of idea how many are going to be there. And also, if you have prayer requests, they'll have it where you can write it out and put it in an envelope. And this won't be an envelope that's shared with the world. It's an envelope that'll be shared and used that night, but it will be used in the right way. And we won't have to worry about confidentiality because we're doing the Lord's work, and we're going to keep it between him and us. So sign up, and we'd love to have you come join us.
Thank you both. Thank you. All right, guys, if you have questions about anything we announced this morning, contact one of us, and we're going to continue with our gathering. Thank you.
Good morning, Forward Point. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, it's so great to see all of you. My name's Jimmy. I'm one of the pastors here at Forward Point, and it's just always an honor and a pleasure to be together. If you're joining us online, welcome. The things that are happening here, we make sure that you are able to join us in person as comfortable as your bed may be or your couch at home may be. We would love to have you here in person. It's something special here to be together. I do want to say thank you to everyone who came out to the movie night and helped our team. Well, you guys were the team who came out and helped clean up, and you saw a picture from outside. This was a picture inside, going on in the foyer of people coming in. There's a big line of people waiting for popcorn. Guys, they're paying top dollar for the popcorn that you guys get for free here on a Sunday morning. I'm just saying, they get to come in and they're paying like $6 for a large box, and you guys got all-you-can-eat buffet popcorn back here going on. And then there was another line going on to help meet the characters, Mario and Princess Peach, and they had lots of fun. I was at Love Handles across the way there, and I could not be a part of it, but this was my view from Love Handles. I was like, I started, this is around 4:45. People were lining up there to get ready for the show. And I kind of felt like, the song, that puppy in the window, right? The puppy, like looking at all the people on the other side of the window with like longing and who's going to come and pet me, right? Somebody come and take me home. Because it was hard because this line was forming at the theater, and literally it was dead at Love Handles, and I'm thinking, man, I could be doing something over there, or I could be helping out, or I want to be where all the action is, or all the people are, or I don't know if you've ever grown up as a kid, you had that day where you were sick, or maybe a few years ago in quarantine, right, and all your friends are outside playing, and you're stuck inside, and you're looking out at the window, right? And it's almost like, you're pressed up against the window just trying to, somebody come and help me get to where you are and where all the fun is. And I missed it, but we got to do what we do at Love Handles. But you guys did an awesome job here for the movie night, and just nothing but positive comments and the ability to be able to bless our community by offering events like that. We could just show a movie, but we're always thinking, what can we do to add value to our events? So we work and think hard. We're going to, get costumes that, are an investment, but we're going to use to provide these different kinds of experiences for our community. So it is lots of fun. But when you're in those moments, right, when you're on the other side of the window kind of glaring out, wishing you were there, or you're at Love Handles, being all creeper on what's going on over here at the theater, taking, telescopic photos from across the blocks there. What do you do in those moments when you're just kind of waiting, right? When you're kind of longing that you were someplace that you aren't currently. When you're hoping, wishing that you see all the action, maybe you see some friends who are in a relationship or married finally, and it's like, this friend gets married, and then this friend gets married, and now this friend is getting married. You don't even like this person, but they're getting married now, and it's like everyone around you is getting married, and you wish you were there in that spot, right? Or maybe it's in your work environment, all your friends are getting jobs and they're moving up the ladder, or they're just super fulfilled and they have all these stories, and you're just kind of working at McDonald's or, this different place that you never, you used to make fun of people who work there, and now you find yourself there and you have this longing of, man, I just wish I could be where they're at. Well, we've been going through the book of Esther, and if you're not familiar with Esther, Esther is really this young orphan girl who kind of goes from rags to riches. She has this story where she's just fine and content kind of being on her own, suffering tragedy at the loss of her parents, but then her cousin Mordecai adopts her and begins to take care of her. And then there's this opportunity. There's a vacancy that happens within the kingdom. The king is banished, his wife. There's no more queen. So we're going to have the first ever Miss Universe contest. And Esther winds up going through and goes through the beautification process, and she becomes queen of all of Persia. Wow, what an amazing opportunity. What an amazing experience. And if it just stopped there, right, it would be kind of the princess story, the Disney story, the happily ever after story. But it doesn't end there. That's really just the first couple chapters. Then enter the protagonist, and enter Haman is his name, and he begins to go through this process where he's got some bad blood with Esther's cousin Mordecai, and he decides, you know what, I'm not just going to take it out on you, Mordecai, I'm going to take it out on all the Jews, and I'm going to tell the king that you guys are nothing but trouble, and we're going to kill all of you. We're going to put into place this plan where everyone can just go after Jews on the specific day, and to incentivize them, we're going to tell people that whatever kind of loot that you get in the process, it is yours to take. So feel free to go after whoever. Feel free to rack up as many kills as possible, because you're just going to make yourself richer. And we find ourselves in the midst of this hunt for the Jewish people. And then last week we looked at this, how Mordecai begins to reach out to his cousin Esther and say, Esther, here's what's going on. We are kind of at the end of the rope here. If you don't do something, then we don't have a chance. And maybe, Esther, it's possible. I mean, I've been doing the numbers, the probability that you could be here, this day of the week, this month, and having all these things come together for this opportunity to have influence into the king. Maybe you're here for such a time as this. And Esther says, you know what, no, it's not about maybe. It is that I'm here, and if it winds up being that I die by doing this, because not anybody can just go to the king, you have to be summoned. But if it happens for the sake of doing what I feel like God has called me to do, if I die, then I die. But here's what I want you to do. Mordecai, you gather all the people. You guys fast and pray for 3 days. We're going to do that here. And then at the end, we're going to go to the king. So that's where we pick up things today. If you're following along, I encourage you can open up your Bibles to Esther chapter 5, or you can follow up on the screen. And this is how it starts. Esther chapter 5, verse 1, it says, 3 days later. And this is really important, because each time we've looked at kind of the turning of a page for the chapters, we recognize that there's been some time happening that has been different. One chapter was 3 years. One chapter there was a distance of 5 years. Like, there's all sorts of different time things. And here we have 3 days later. Esther says, you guys pray and fast for 3 days. We're going to pray and fast for 3 days. So here we are 3 days later. We kind of get to skip through the pain and suffering that comes along with fasting for 3 days. The process of going without something for 3 days. I don't know what it is for you, but for me, man, if I think about going without my phone for 3 days, I start to shiver at the thought, right? I mean, I'm kind of so connected to my phone that a lot of times I feel like my butt is buzzing, and I pull out my phone, and there's nothing new on there, right? It's almost like it's wishful butt buzzing, I think. That I'm hoping for kind of the next, message, the next news flash, the next alert that I would get, and I pull it out. I don't know how many times throughout the course of the day I pull that thing out and nothing new has transpired, right? I mean, that's the place that we've gotten to as a culture, where our phones, it would be like fasting. But for them, and for all humans, the idea of going without food and water for 3 days, man, that's hard to do. That's drastic. And here we have kind of a SpongeBob 3 days later, right, moment where we kind of get to skip over all of that process. Right, because if you remember where we left off last week in the end of chapter 4, we remember that Esther had sent back this answer to Mordecai, go and get all the Jews living in Susa together. And what you're going to do is you're going to fast for me, and you're not going to eat or drink for 3 days. And neither day or night, and I and my maids and will fast with you, and if you will do this, then I will go to the king, even though it's forbidden. And here's kind of the pinnacle moment from last week. If I die, I die. And Mordecai left and carried out Esther's instructions, right? So here we are, the turning of the page to chapter 5, and we have this 3 days later moment. And in reality, it might as well have been an eternity later when you think about kind of being a dead man walking, right? Kind of having in your mindset that the days that you have left here on earth are numbered. I mean, we all know intrinsically that we are dying, right? From the moment you're born, while your body is growing and creating new things, you're also at the same time dying. That is the answer for all of us. At some point, I can tell you what's in your future. You're going to be 6 feet under, right? I know. How about a little motivational speak for a Sunday morning to inspire you to live out your faith for the rest of the day, right? Yeah, good news, right? But that is where all of us are going to be. Yeah, there is no, getting around that. I remember when I was in Indiana, and there was a man who was coming to our church, and he got diagnosed with this terminal cancer. But it was a terminal cancer where it was like, in maybe 16, 18 months. And there was this period of time where he was able to do things like anybody else would. And I remember a group of us going to his house and kind of helping him get his house in order so he would be able to sell it. I remember that summer going with him, and he went on a mission trip with us to Central America. And there's something very humbling about walking with somebody who recognizes that their days are numbered. There's a purpose. There's an intentionality that you kind of live with, recognizing that, man, I can probably count on a calculator the days, the breaths that I have left here in life. And we kind of don't ever get to that point until it's too late. And we look back with regret and wish, man, if only I had done this, or if I'd only known, then maybe I would have done something different. And here we have Esther kind of in that moment recognizing there's only a few amounts of sunsets that she has left. And this fasting is kind of developing in her a sense of longing, this a sense of intense desire for something. And what do you do in those moments? What do you do in those moments when all you have left is being desperate for God? When all you have left is, God, man, desperation for him to do something. That's rock bottom, right? And we talked about last week how rock bottom looks different for each person, but it feels the same. We all know what it feels like. But today, longing, this idea of longing, it looks different for each person, but it feels the same. For me, it looks like gazing wistfully out the love handles window at my friends, being able to put on this awesome event where all the people are, and it's like crickets over there, right? Like that looks different than the longing that you're going through, what you're wishing for, what you're hoping for. But it feels the same for all of us. We understand it's a tie that kind of binds us. It's maybe, like we already said, the desire for a spouse, or just even the desire for a relationship. And we get to a place where you said, man, I just will settle for another human being who's alive. Out of this sense of just longing and desiring something so bad. It could be an affliction that you've been going through. You got a health diagnosis, and then you beat the health diagnosis, only for a short while later for you to get another health diagnosis that seems worse or the same than the one you just got through. Or maybe it's your kids. Man, your kids keep kind of causing all sorts of gray hairs to come about in your head. And you think, man, God, either you need to take them or I'm going to take them because of what they're doing to me. You just wish with nothing else that they just would wholeheartedly give their life to following Jesus. And you have this longing that they would live with the same values and the same principles that you have and how you put Jesus first. It's amazing. There's some moments that I can think about in my life where everything else just kind of went dark and all I cared about and focused was my kids. Most recently, we had an art show at Love Handles where Litley, my pre-K4 class, had an art show of all their artwork on the Love Handles walls, right? It's been super fun. But, Litley's there playing with her friends, and she gets a whole eye full of another girl's head in her eye, right? So for the past week, if you've seen Litley, she looks like she was just, coming out of some kind of boxing Hall of Fame match or something because she's got this real big shiner. But when that happened, she's in the other room. I hear her scream and crying, right? And as a parent, you know this. You can pick out your kid's cry out of a stadium of noises. You can hear your kid crying. And all I could think about is, man, I would give anything to take this pain away for my kid. I think of Justice Joy, my oldest, when she was young. She was sitting up in one of our high chairs, and she fell down, and she broke her arm. And it was literally broke her arm to the point where it was like going the other direction, right? One of those moments when you're like, ugh, when you see it on TV, right? Well, this was in person, and all of a sudden you go into dad mode. Everything else goes away, and I just have this longing to take away this pain as I'm holding her in my arms, and Chazlet's driving the car, and we're trying to get to the hospital. I just would give anything to take away this pain from my little girl, this longing, this desire to take it away. And 3 days later, Esther has got this same longing, the same desire, like this weight of the world that rests on her shoulders. So she gets dressed in her royal robes, and she took up a position in the inner court of the palace in front of the king's throne room. And the king was on his throne facing the entrance. I remember from last week, right? At this point, she has already committed a punishable offense where you should be killed. The only way you get out of this is if for some reason he's feeling gracious and decides to pardon you. But as soon as this culminates, you can almost hear the guards kind of coming together to be able to take away the queen and administer the punishment. And what happens? This is where the dun 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 dun, right? When he noticed Queen Esther standing in the court, he was pleased to see her. And this kind of should throw you off guard, because Esther last week, she was saying, you know what, Mordecai, man, the king hasn't even requested me to be in his presence for going on 30 days now, right? I don't know if he just doesn't like the way I look anymore. I don't know if he's just not that interested in me anymore. I don't know if I've lost some kind of mojo or whatever, but he has not had any kind of desire for me for these last 30 days. And that was one of the things she scares about. And she gets there, and we get an insight into the king's heart where the king was pleased to see her. And this is a theme all throughout Esther and Esther's relationship with people who were nothing like her. Esther was a Jew living in occupied country, surrounded by a Persian kingdom and an army and structure, processes, systems that were so unfamiliar to her. But everywhere she went, everyone loved her. All the Persians, all of her maids, all of her servants, all of her competitors, everybody just loved Esther. And here we have, even though he hasn't seen her for 30 days, maybe the sexual attraction that he once had for her has gone away, or maybe the infatuation, right? Because you remember back in the early Esther, the king, the book of Esther tells us, was attracted to Esther more than any of the other women, right? And she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. Like, there's some serious infatuation going on here at the beginning of their relationship. But it gets back to this place where the king is just pleased to see her. There's something about the way that Esther lives. There's something about the way that Esther carries herself, that the way that she interacts with everybody, that he doesn't have to worry about what she's doing. Right? And infatuation is this idea that we're probably all familiar with, whether or not you'd like to admit it or not, where we're into something because we like the way that we feel as a result. Sure, we'd love to kind of mask it and say, man, I would do anything for this person. I love this person. But the reality is we're just in love with how it makes us feel. But through the course of time, Esther builds this relationship where even though the infatuation has worn off, the king has this great respect for Esther, and he's pleased to see her. Man, I relate, right? Because growing up, I was somebody who was easily infatuated. I could bounce from like girl to girl. As soon as it kind of got boring, then, I found the next one that just was like, oh, I'm so in love with you now, right? Because in reality, I was just in love with feeling like I was in love. And sometimes I still catch myself in other areas, sometimes in jobs, right? I think about, working in IT for a long time, and then I see other jobs of people looking for IT people, and I see like the salary, and I'm like, it would just be fun to go work for someplace new, because like the honeymoon stage of most new jobs, it's super fun. We all know what it's like to kind of feel like you're learning something new, and it's new and exciting, and then what happens? You stop feeling like you're in love with being in love. And you're like, it's time to change. Right? Some of you have had more jobs in the last few weeks than some of us have in a lifetime, all right? Because you're kind of an addict to that adrenaline feeling, that infatuation feeling. But beyond that, the king was pleased to see her. Right? Pleased to see her. And here's the thing about longing. When you put yourself back in that moment of whatever it is you're longing for, I don't know what it is for you. I know what it is for me. But I guarantee there's probably something that you're longing for, maybe multiple things that you're longing for, that you have a sense of intense desire. And here's the thing about longing for God, because all of us would say, oh, yes, we long for God. Longing is easy to mask, forward point, but it's impossible to hide. Right? This is one of those things where we can say one thing, but when you begin to look at the actions, when you begin to look at the fruit of your life, and you add up all of those things, it might prove a different case than what you express as what you're longing for. I came across this quote on the interwebs, right? It says, I was always ashamed to take, so I gave. It was not a virtue. It was a disguise. And a lot of us, what we do is we disguise, we mask our longing because maybe we're ashamed, maybe because of something that we've been through, some tragedy, some kind of experience, but we mask what we go through. But here we see that